We're here. It is the best travel podcast in the universe. Probably, we hope. We're with Jackson Greaves, Biscuits and Greavy. I'm your host, Fraser LeVay from InspireTravelEat.com for all your travel and food needs and inspiration if you ever need to pick me up. And today we are discussing the best travel food we have ever had in our lives. Experiences, maybe it's a little bit of anecdotal experiences, but best taste, best experience, best ambiance along our travels. And we hope that you can go to one of these places or multiple and you make damn sure you visit because it is incredible. We're doing a draft system. So Jackson will go, I'll go. We'll spend a minute or two on each and we'll show you just a universe of it'll tickle your taste buds. Do you have any words? I feel like you'd come up with a catchy.
Titillate my taste buds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. That's the one. Well, Jackson, why
Yeah.
don't you go first? Where is one of your favorite travel places you've ever eaten?
Well, this is a very passionate podcast for me because I mean there are thousands and thousands of fantastic places to eat, but these are the most memorable experiences at locations where honestly I think what put these things on the menu is the service.
And
It's,
also, Jackson,
it's
I didn't mean to cut you off, but you are, I meant to say, you are the number one person I go to for my food, whether it's recipe making, whether it's, hey, should I eat this? Anything on earth, you are my number one, hands down, everyone, go to person. He is a competition chef who's won multiple awards. He is a professional chef. He is incredible when it comes to his foods. So if you're listening to anyone food wise, you listen to him. And if you're listening to anyone travel experience wise, you listen to me. So our fusion right now is like the fusion of what Jackson's about to bring on number one on his list.
Absolutely. So the first one would be Locust in Nashville. Chef Trevor Moran there just has put together phenomenal menus time and time again. Seasonal things, so everything's always fresh. He's very inventive, but the service there it's above and beyond. Um, you really get to interact with kind of just the everything happening within the space that you're in, and he everything from not just the taste but the plates are unique. So the plating is unique, and he just when you go to Nashville, I always recommend that place, but you do need to book ahead of time. As soon as you know you're going to Nashville, go ahead and book that experience. They don't take reservations more than 8, and they do solo dining, so that is nice as well. But they are fantastic, and you're not going to be able to walk in there. I will say that it's very hard.
Does anywhere not do solo dining?
There's a couple restaurants for reservations, like solo dining reservations, because
Hmm.
sometimes they don't just have bar tops. Sometimes it's just tables, and you have to reach a certain, when you want to hit that money. Why sell a reservation to a one person when you can
Yeah,
sell it to two?
that's just economics, baby.
It's
That's restaurant
economic.
economics.
You got to turn tables, and you got to make sure that you're going to pull as much money from every night as possible. So
Yeah.
solo diners are not. I wouldn't say you're looked down upon, but you definitely aren't usually catered to as nicely as larger parties,
That
because
makes
those larger parties, first of all,
yeah
people
economics.
talk,
Yeah.
everyone at the table is eating at the same time, so
Mhm.
that one person at the table having a bad experience can really sour the experience for everyone. So
Yeah.
that's why usually you see 2 to 3 waiters on large parties, just to
Yeah.
make sure that they have a great experience and a
It's
rememberable
great.
experience, because people
Yeah.
talk, and usually
Uh,
solo diners don't have friends. Usually,
yeah.
sometimes.
Sometime. Number one on my side, we go to Laos and Luang Prabang.
Whoa, tell me about Laos. I haven't been.
You have to go. It's one of my favorite countries I've ever been to. There's a little town village called Luang Prabang. Incredible. There are two things in this place that made it next level on the food wise. One is their famous night market, which is just an alleyway of food. It's like a Mongolian grill where you just pick all the food. I guess it's a Laos grill, like a, and they just stir fry it up right in front of you, and it's $1 on the street. I know I was there before COVID. We know COVID jacked the price up on anything, so maybe. And then there's a place called Riverside Barbecue where you cross a man-made stick bridge that gets washed away once a year due to the floods of the river. It's right off the Mekong River. It is a hot pot where they take um, a cauldron that they put in your table with like stone or whatever that is, and then they put a little thing like a pan on top. What would you call it? It's like a triangular pan. Is there a word for that? You're a chef. I don't know, but and then the bottom there's like a bowl that wraps around. It's almost like a moat around a volcano. So the volcano, you cook all the meats and the lard, and it sizzles down into the moat. And the moat's where you put your egg drop soup. They put egg in there. They put vegetables, the broth, obviously, and then all the meat sweats just goes right into your little hot bowl of soup. And that we had a few drinks and all you can eat of this hot pot Lao barbecue, a lot like Korean barbecue. And oh my god, it was my favorite meal I've ever had taste wise and second experience wise, which we'll get to. What's your next one, Jackson?
My next one's gonna be in Miami. We're gonna go down to Southwest 8th Street to Hold Havana's Cuban Bar. Now, I love this place because the atmosphere is great, but the food's great, and I love a good Cuban and papas fritas. And they got some great ones right there, memorable ones. But the service is fantastic. The mojitos are strong and good and smooth. It's something where you just wish you could go there once a week. And the just I like to sit, just kind of curbside and just take in all of Miami. So I highly recommend that place. And then obviously there's just the beat of the cities just all around you, so you can
Yeah.
dance and get kind of wild around there.
How's the cost? Because I know when I go to Miami, everything's $700. Is it like relatively? Is it kind of? Is this place? I guess. Uh,
It's I mean, it's not
is it a big restaurant or is it more of like a lesser known,
it's
smaller place?
it's not a very big restaurant. It's not commercialized at all.
That's what I was. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely give it a Google. But
And
I
what's it called again?
Old Havana's Cuban Bar and Restaurant. I think I know if you go by Old Havana's, it's on
Mm,
Southwest 8th Street. I'm not
that's
exactly
great.
sure the end of it.
I always love that when I go traveling. I like to know like the lesser known little spots,
Mhm.
not just because there's some great Miami restaurants, but I want to know
Well, I
this.
like in a town like that, I like a Cuban, just a
Mm,
Cubano, just because it's great on the go and it's a nice hearty meal and
yeah,
people know how to do it well. It's
I'm with you.
how can you be?
And I'm gonna go with my selection, which is Chiang Mai, Thailand, which I had two of my favorite things. Well, one was just a unique thing. One was one of my favorite things. I went on a jungle trek for 4 or 5 days in the jungle. Incredible trip. Aside from they just fed us curry, and I didn't like curry at that time, especially their curry was just like straight heat and liquid and just potatoes
Oh, so
and
not
carrots.
not that
It
suck.
wasn't as like as it was more watery and cheaper, if you will. I think I would have loved it now, but also that's what we ate for lunch and dinner, and we only got meat in it for dinner, so it was just basically giant piece of potatoes and giant pieces of carrots in like a broth, a soupy coconut broth, which was fine day one, but like by day three, it was just we're spending a lot of time under waterfalls, just trying to cool some orifices of our bodies down. Anyways, the guide caught rats and he shish kebab rats right through the sides, 7 of them, and just barbecued them right over the fire. And it tasted like teriyaki chicken. It wasn't bad at all. I burned them to a crisp. And I think jungle rat is different than like New York rat because New York rat is, of course, eating trash and poop. Where a jungle rat's just a
It's
squirrel.
just
It's just,
pizza,
yeah, it's just a rabbit, and people eat rabbit. Oh, so it's a nice
varmint.
good jungle rat.
It's a
And then, yeah, we had spent so long in the jungle that we just wanted anything that we like any sustenance because we had been dying with curry and like we lost 100 pounds because we were just eating it and then out the other end. And there was a chicken stand. Like imagine like a little tent, a beat up old tent, and there was a chicken coop of like 50 chickens, maybe 7 to 12 chickens. And then they're making chicken and rice right in front of you. So basically, they would just chop the chicken head off, grill it, and yeah, it was unreal. And then they eat it with their hands, and they use sticky rice. So like the sticky rice you eat with your hands. So imagine you're just putting your hand in a bag of rice, eating it, taking a bite out of chicken, fresh chicken. So that was incredible. So your turn, Jackson.
I would say going back, I traveled to Argentina and we after a nice hunting trip, we went and settled for 2 nights in Buenos Aires, and what I was hungry for was in the capital of the beef nation was a nice steak. And if you don't know, now you know. There's a ton of beef in Argentina, one of the largest producers in the world, if not the largest, and they have some incredibly old and historic steakhouses. My favorite is Don Julio's. Don Julio's. But the staff there is fantastic. The wine there, the Malbec is just phenomenal. They have great recommendations, and
Really?
it's a great place to have. It's a great ambiance. It's very old fashioned. People in tuxedo, waiters, and dressed in black tie, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah, I always forget that like Brazil, like the Brazilian steakhouse, I never put together that like it's a really big place for meat and steak. So like Argentina is similar. So
Oh,
yeah.
Argentina, it's German, Italian influence, and they have some of and Spanish influence, but they have Wow. The largest steaks I've ever seen. I had the largest steak of my life there. The largest
Wow.
steak of my life. It
Yeah,
blew me away.
that's great. Next for me, we're going to Barcelona.
Barcelona?
Yeah. The Mercado de la Boqueria. It is this like imagine a basketball stadium and a basketball stadium just filled with different markets, like different food. There's like fresh smoothies. There's charcuterie. There's people just trimming meat, trimming cheeses. There, yeah, it's everything and anything you could want in this giant market, like under a rooftop, all closed in. Soups and breads. It's just one of the coolest places I've ever been, and you can eat, and it's cheap too because Barcelona is a pretty expensive place. So there, you just go in there and it's kind of like a almost like a food court, like an old school food court, but with like immaculate food, and it's enormous. And there's bars in there too, so you can like just stop at all these little tiny bars. Yeah, imagine a food court like of just lines and rows of food places to buy food from. They've got them a lot like in Mexico or like Central America, but this one is just like none I've ever seen before. It's like a high class, beautiful version in like a central area in Barcelona. Yeah.
Love it.
What do you
Um,
got next for me, Jackson?
we're going to hit some barbecue. I got two competing places in the same city.
Ooh,
Uh,
I wonder if one of them's mine that
so,
I was gonna add.
so one is Terry Black's in
Mhm.
Austin, Texas. Now, the reason I say this is just because of the consistency there. I just the barbecue I get there every time it tastes the same every time. The brisket is just phenomenal, and then they have some great specials. Um, I'm gonna let you go, but the next one is
The
obviously
one
high.
I like too.
I think so.
Oh, what is it? You can go ahead.
Kind of a little higher. Saltgrass.
Salt Lick.
Salt Lick. Sorry. Yeah, Salt Lick. My bad. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. I can
it's
say, but
okay.
yeah, Salt Lick. But it's been around since my mother was in college back in the day. And that was their spot too. But it's a little bit outside of Austin city limits. But
Hmm.
it is phenomenal. Open pit barbecue, and they just got the
Yeah,
meats hanging there, and the great
that's what I love.
chili, and it's huge. It's a good place. It's a great
I
spot.
never. You're the chef, so I would never know that's what it's called. I've heard the term before, but I didn't realize. So an open pit barbecue.
Yeah.
That's yeah. It's so cool. It's like the meat are just hanging over top,
Yeah.
and it's just an experience, right? Like especially like being Canadian. I'd never been to Texas before, and I walk in and you just feel like you're in. the Wild West. Like
Mhm.
just like when I was in Laos, it was a similar idea. Just it was like a cultural site that I'll never forget. And back then when I went, it was like $21 all you could eat, and you could bring your own beer in.
Yep,
So like our group,
there's some
yeah,
it's crazy.
our group brought in like a
Change.
cooler, and then I had meat sweats, and my stomach just was turning all night because I ate the most food I've ever eaten in my entire life.
I definitely recommend Salt Lick over Terry Black's. So
Yeah,
that's what
I want to try Terry Black's because I've heard it's incredible as well.
it is great. It is
Yeah,
fantastic. There's also one in Dallas here, Deep Ellum.
yeah.
I haven't been to that one yet, but I heard great things.
And
So
there's a Salt Lick. It's not as good, of course, but in the Houston airport, I
yeah.
one time saw it and I was like, I'm going there. It was, I mean, it was just kind of regular because it's the airport.
Mhm.
But so don't judge that if you ever see it. Like, oh, Jackson and Fraser said it was one of the best places ever. And then you have it in the airport, and you're like, oh, these guys are fucking idiots.
No, we love it.
Also, let's stay in the U.S. Have you ever been to Catch? There's one in L.A., one in New York. I don't know if there's others.
I have not.
It was. I often say a steak's a steak, and I'm not a huge steakhouse fan. Like in Scottsdale, there's a bunch of steakhouses, and you pay $90 for a steak, and it's good, but is it $70 better, 70% better than what we could make at home that you'd make for me for a fraction of the price? I don't think so. Where this Catch New York steak and all the accoutrements that came with it, everything, oh my god, it was worth the price of admission. And the ambiance, the music, they have like a rooftop bar. All in all, that was a lovely place. So if you do ever want to spend some coin, Catch LA or Catch New York, and there might be others, I don't know now, but have you heard of it?
I've heard things about it,
But you've heard of
but
Catch, right?
I've heard it. I've heard.
Yeah,
Have you heard about Catch? Like which one? There's a
yeah,
lot. I've heard. I think there's some knockoffs around the country. So you
yeah,
never know which
yeah, that's
one
true.
we're
um
hearing about.
I always thought naming my child Catch. I would always want to do that because like there's friend like Chase, like you're
No, I
chasing
think they
stuff.
would get picked on a lot, Frazier,
What
because
about
bullies
Chase?
would just chase. Yeah, they would chase them, and
Yeah,
then
but look,
Catch,
there's
they
we're
would
doing
throw
fine
things
now.
at them.
I've got a
If the
very
kid was
handsome
named
friend named
Catch,
Chase.
you know how back in the day, there's some kids I know who would just throw things at them. Hey,
That's
Catch.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but what about kids named Chase? They've got chased.
yeah,
But look, I know a very handsome, successful guy named Chase.
yeah. I also know a terrible person named Chase. I know a bunch of Chases.
I hope it's not the
There's a
same
wide
person.
range of Chases. There's good
Mm,
Jacksons, there's bad Jacksons.
mm.
Frasier's though, I've never met another well, except for the
Michael
one on
Jackson.
TV. He was a therapist, but
Yeah, that's true.
he had a
He
nice
was
dog.
pretty good. Yeah. Um, let's go to Belize. Have you ever had brown stewed chicken?
I've heard of it,
Oh my God, Jackson, that needs to be the next thing you cook.
but
It's
you know what? I'll do that. I will do
yeah,
that. Let's
it's
see there.
like
Brown stew chicken. I'm sure it
Caribbean.
takes a lot of braising, but
It's on my website for the best easy brown stew chicken recipe. It's like a Caribbean or Jamaican dish, I think initially, which I guess Belize is basically on the Caribbean.
beautiful
And yeah, it's just like a stewed chicken. So basically, you make a stew and you cook the
plantains.
yeah, and you cook the chicken in that stew,
Hmm.
and then you have like the hot sauce and the rice. It's so basic, but oh my god, it is incredible.
So the simplest things are the tastiest things. I've always said.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Like when I was in Brazil, another one on my list is Gaitos Grill,
Hmm.
and it basically is just barbecue chicken and rice, but like all the spices they use and their hot sauce. Oh my god! And any acai spot nearby in Ipanema or anywhere in Rio de Janeiro is some of the best food I ever had.
Hmm.
Do you got another one next?
I do. This one's more off the beaten path, and you gotta, travel to the west. You're in the west end of Jamaica, and it's called Cool Vibes Bar and Jerk Center.
Oh,
And not just great atmosphere, but a fantastic
hmm.
food, and it is authentic. It is authentic as it gets. I'm told. If I could be wrong by some Jamaicans out there, but hey, I had a great experience, and
Yeah,
I learned some Jamaican words while I was there. I'm not going to repeat them because once I did, I found out, ugh, not
get in
great.
trouble.
Yeah, I got in
Yeah,
trouble.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like
fair. And we already got Malaysia, Thailand, India, and Iraq mad at us, so we probably don't need Jamaica mad at us too.
maybe.
Um, what was the dish that you liked called? Just like a jerk chicken?
Oh, I love the jerk chicken. The rice was phenomenal.
Mm,
They had some great this coconut drink that I was drinking was great there.
mm.
But everything was just it was made right in front of you, and it's fantastic. I just really loved how succulent every bite was, and it was honestly just a great atmosphere. And when my
One
family's loving it, I'm loving it, and yeah, we just had a great time there. We were
one of my
dancing,
favorite
had a good time.
American food. So I have a friend who always likes to say like there's no American food, which maybe you can put to rest, but
And you know I
basically
love
like
barbecue, but you know.
yeah, barbecue as well as buffalo wings are American. But is this American? Because it's like Creole food, and it's my favorite American food. I don't know if you can get it other places, but etouffee.
Mhm.
Are you familiar?
Yeah, crawfish etouffee, you can do a bunch of
Chicken.
yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah,
etouffees.
that I think that's one of my favorite foods in the world. And there's a place in Indianapolis called Yats.
Mm,
It was just like a hole in the wall. Now I think there's three or four locations. And you went in there and just like the three etouffees of the day were on like a whiteboard. And you can just mix them if you want, or have one, or have two of each. And then they give you garlic bread. And you say, hey, I want the catfish, or I want the chicken, or I want the beef, whatever that is. And they're like, all right, they put on some rice, they slap the etouffee on there, they give you this incredible garlic bread for like $7.
mm.
It is delightful. So if you're ever in Indianapolis,
I'm
go to
write that
Yats.
down. I have not really. Oh, right.
Or St. Elmo's is big in Indianapolis. They have like a shrimp cocktail with their famous cocktail sauce that'll burn your nostrils.
Oof.
And I don't love shrimp cocktail, but it's really good there.
Hmm. Well,
Yeah.
my next one, Costa Rica. Going down to
Mm.
Costa Rica. We're going to the treetop dining experience in San Lucas. Probably, I mean, this should go down even closer in my list, but it was the most incredible, unique food, 7-course dining experience. They provide
Mm.
also vegan experience as well, which I tried some of the vegan bites, and it was just as good as the stuff that wasn't vegan.
Dead
I mean,
animals.
it was all around fantastic. And when you plan out a 7-course menu, things can get overlooked. And I can say for sure every part of the meal was phenomenal. It might be a little more expensive, but so worth it. And the atmosphere you can't beat the treetop views in Costa Rica.
Yeah, that's great. Um, I was in Nicaragua, and I don't know the name of this restaurant, but it was in San Juan del Sur, and it was $40 for it's $10 a person, and you basically is all you can eat. They just put a plate in front of you, and like this would have been $400 in Canada or the USA, and it was a plate of all the seafood, steak, and you just went to town. I had never eaten octopus before, and we didn't know
Mhm.
what we were looking at something on our plate, and we're like, "What is that?" And I was like, "You know what? I'll try it." And I cut
Got
into
some
it,
pulpo. Pulpo.
and I chewed it, and I was like, "Oh my!" It was almost like the best steak I'd ever had.
Yeah,
It is just so tender and
it
flavorful,
takes
and I had
time.
no
It
idea.
takes care to make it.
And I've never had it taste like that ever again. I've had a couple places that it was pretty good, but nothing. And I've had a couple places where it was really like shitty. It tasted like what you think octopus would taste like.
Mhm.
Where that one was like it almost tastes like steak. It was unreal.
Takes a lot. It takes time and care to do it right.
Have you ever had the chicken fingers at Wet Republic in Las Vegas?
I've not.
I feel like because often when I'm in Las Vegas at Wet Republic, you're probably drunk and anything tastes good. But
Are
the
you gonna
chicken
take me?
fingers,
We're going to Vegas pretty soon.
yeah, I don't think we'll hit up Wet Republic though. But maybe we can Postmates them. But I think what makes them so good, they're like the hottest temperature wise and good dips. You're probably
Vegas
pretty
is coming
toasty.
upon us.
Yeah. Um,
Isn't Vegas this next couple weeks, right?
well, no, remember we, you know this, we moved it to the end of July.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
It was actually next week though.
Yeah, it's
So yeah,
supposed to be next week.
yeah. Anything
Um,
else you got on that list?
yes, Buchan, Palm
What's
Beach.
that?
It's an open fire restaurant where they're cooking
Oh,
right over open hot fire coals, and they're
oh,
producing some of the most fantastic dishes, and they're all share. When my family goes, we share everything, and I mean everything you get there is fantastic. But the highlight, my favorite dessert of all time, is a chocolate chip cookie, and they have my favorite chocolate chip cookies of all time. Of all time,
do they put
the
salt on them?
Buchan Palm Beach down in Florida. Check it out. It's phenomenal.
What makes like do they put salt on them or what makes
A
them the
little
best?
salt. I honestly can't put my finger on why theirs is so superior to every other cookie I've ever had in my entire life. But
Chelsea's
maybe it's cooked in an oven. That uses the
made of
coals.
cookies.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know exactly where they're. I haven't seen them
Oh,
bake them, but I've seen
oh,
them grill all their other stuff because you can look into that part of the kitchen and see the grill, and it's
yeah.
phenomenal to watch.
Wow. Yeah, Chelsea's Kitchen in Phoenix has like incredible chocolate chip cookies, and they're just free. You just grab them as you leave. They're
Really,
in a little yeah. Oh my
that
god.
might make them taste a little better to me. I don't know.
Yeah. Uh huh.
Might get five.
Oh yeah, you definitely stuff your pockets with them. The next place is two things in Mexico. One is in Puerto Penasco, or Rocky Point, as it's also known, just 4 hours from Phoenix, Arizona. So you take a car, you drive across, but they have entire street. I think it's First Street or Uno de Junio Street, and there's just food stands on this street, and it's just open air, and just like those little white plastic tables and chairs, and real authentic. They're just cooking up in front of you. It's so cheap. Little It's right by Parque de la Palapas. There's Lake Parque de la Palapas in Cancun. So I just loved it. And then this you can do anywhere, but we went deep sea fishing in Tulum, and we caught a giant snapper, a king snapper. Does that sound
Hmm.
right? Is that what we
King,
caught,
yeah.
or what's
I mean, a king mackerel, and then
mackerel? It was a king mackerel. Thank
yeah,
you. And we went to a restaurant and they cooked it up in garlic and butter for us with rice. That was
hard to beat.
tasty. Hard to beat. Anything that was just fresh caught and cooked, hard to beat. Yeah.
Well, my last two are both in the most iconic city in America. I would say New York. So
Mm.
um, the next one on my list is Cat's Deli. Been
Oh,
featured
I've
in
heard of that.
a lot of movies, but it's a Jewish delicacy, and it's got the best pastrami in the world, arguably. And it's by far, uh, if I would have had Carnegie Deli on this list, but they closed down. It was
Hmm.
one of the restaurants that the pandemic got, and it's
Uh,
Carnegie Deli in New York. Shout out to them. Gone but not forgotten. You know, but Cat's Deli
New
has taken
York.
that place for me. It's phenomenal. It's the best. Cool. People say Cat's Deli has the most iconic sandwich in America, and that is the pastrami on rice. So it's you
Is
know
it a Jewish deli?
yeah, the Reuben, they got the Reuben there, and
So
it's
I never liked this about, and I had to actually Google the history. The history gave me the reason why I don't like Jewish delis. Um, Hopefully, that's not what you think. So whenever I go there, I would get charged. Like at all the Jewish delis I would go to, I would get charged extra for adding pickles and like cheese to because like it's always just like the meat, right, and bread for the most part. Like it's often and some sauces. But I would be like, can I get extra pickles? Can I get like this or that? And I would get charged extra always for it. And I figured out it's because of the cleansing, like washing your hands and stuff. What's it called that happens? Like, uh, so they don't like stuff to touch because it's not clean. So like pickles on the sandwich and cheese touching the meat because it's not sanitary. They don't do it. So like if you want to fuck with their style, they're gonna charge you more for
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
it's too.
What was it called? The plague? Is that what? I'm just not happy. I just want pickles on my
So you're
sandwich, and I
saying
want
you don't like Jewish
cheese.
delis because they charge you more?
Yes, for pickles and cheese. Are you kidding me? Um, yeah, because it's not kosher.
Uh,
Like that's what.
I've heard
Yeah.
Kanye say the same thing.
Oh my god. I was scared to. I was scared to talk about it, but just the Jewish delis, they just don't. They don't do the stuff I would like them to do on my
For the
sandwich.
record, you took me to the worst deli I've ever been to in my
I was
life.
gonna bring up two things.
In
No, no, no. It's
the
a
worst
great
deli.
deli.
If we're gonna if we're gonna do the top 10, we need to do the 10 worst. I can
It
I
it is a
can put
great
that on the
deli.
list. I can put a big old sign on that deli.
It is a one of my favorite places to eat in all of Phoenix. However, and the gal who runs it, who's the smartest, greatest sandwich person in Phoenix, she's
Has
amazing.
horrible recommendations.
Her recommendation was unique. That's where we kind of why can't I remember the name of it now? But it's the best place to eat in Phoenix. I love it. My favorite sandwich.
It's a hot take. It's
And
a hot-
Jackson goes, what's your recommendation? Because you wanted to
What's your
order what,
recommend? What's the
Reuben?
best sandwich on your menu to the owner
Because you,
or the
the owner's
family member
daughter,
of the owner? I don't
yeah,
know.
the family. You asked her, you were about to order the Reuben or something, right?
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to
they
get the
gave you the
Reuben,
Reuben. And
which
you're like,
was
oh, well,
which
what do
I
you want?
did end up ordering.
And you liked it, right?
Yeah, it was decent.
Yeah. And
But you still didn't. But you thought it was decent too, wasn't it?
I
Like,
don't like Reubens. Remember the
yeah,
whole
but it wasn't
Jewish
like
thing?
blew me away or anything like
Yeah.
that. I should have made my
Uh,
own.
yeah. So what happened was
Goodness! Oh God!
Jackson
I got to
asked,
add some to the list.
so Jackson asked for a Reuben, and he goes, unless you got something to suggest, what do you suggest? And she's like, well, you know what? We're famous for our tuna. And before Jackson said yes or anything like that, in my head, I'm like, we're in Phoenix, Arizona. Why the fuck would anywhere be famous for tuna? Like if we were in Costa Rica or Mexico and you just, it's fresh tuna, I get it. We're in Phoenix, Arizona, and her recommendation was the tuna. And Jackson was disgusted, not happy.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so.
Yeah. And now he calls it the worst deli in America, which is not the case. But
I've had
it's
golf.
called.
I've had a public golf course in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Mhm.
Multiple serve me better tuna salad sandwiches than that one on hot,
It was very
hot days.
dry too.
Hot days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hottest days of the year. I've had some
Mhm.
great tuna sandwiches from these places.
Duck in a
And
Canter is the place, by the way. Duck in a Canter. Best, one of my favorite places eaten for sandwiches
the
in
duck
Phoenix,
and
but
the
don't get
canter.
tuna. Yeah. Also, like speaking of Jackson sandwiches, we went to. I don't know if you've heard this place. It's called Subway, and
Or
there's a
like the
long
skunk in the
line.
garbage can. The skunk in the garbage can.
We're
What that
we're
place
just
is.
waiting forever to get in. Then we finally get there, and Jackson's holding up the line. He's there. It's like he's never been there before. He's, oh, what kind of meat? It says what kind of meat's in front of you. He's
No,
like,
I'm
oh, well, do
asking
you
about
want?
the cheeses because they told me they threw me a
And
curveball
then,
because they have a
yeah,
new
go ahead.
champions lineup with the Bella
Mm.
Grossia. They have the fancy cheese, the Bella Grossia mozzarella, and I want it on my sandwich, and they don't have it, so they have to throw me a curveball and make me pick inferior cheeses to go with the lineup of capicola and other salami, some fantastic deli meats that Subway claim are fresh as can be. And I'm sorry if I want some fresh cheese to go with it. Excuse me, Fraser, if I'm paying for it.
Yeah. Jackson wants Bella Serena Cosa mozzarella in his Subway
I
sandwich.
don't
And we're
recommend.
literally
By the way, if I'm going to go to a chain sandwich shop, I don't go to Subway. I go to Jimmy John's
they unfortunately Pace in
or
Arizona
Jersey Mike's
population
or Jersey
popula-
Mike's. Big fan of Jersey Mike's.
Pace in Arizona population 2,000 people doesn't have anything but Subway and a Starbucks and a Safeway. We could have gotten the Safeway one actually, to be fair, but
Well, there's an
didn't have much.
entrepreneur. that's going to come your ways pretty soon. Bring you guys some quality chain
Yeah.
restaurants.
Another thing that I love is a cappuccino or anything in Rome. I don't really drink cappuccino. I started drinking coffee a little bit. I never drank coffee back when I was in Rome. And whatever they crack, cocaine, heroin, they put in their cappuccino is incredible. It is one of the best tasting things I've ever had. You have to go. You cannot go wrong eating anywhere in Rome. Just go to like there's little chairs on the side of the road and just plop yourself down, order a pizza or pizza or bruschetta, and you're in heaven. It's like truly you'll gain 1,000 pounds in Rome, but thankfully you'll walk it all off because you walk a million miles in Rome as you should. But incredible place, one of my favorite. Want to know something, Jackson? I think there's a handful of cities that are not there. You experience them. You don't visit them. You don't see them. You experience them. So like New York City is one of those places. Like you go to New York, like oh my god, you're blown away, right? Rome is another one of those cities. So go to Rome. Also Rio de Janeiro, one of those cities, and so is in Cambodia. Siem Reap is another city. Very few cities are an experience where you're just Bangkok, another one where you feel them. You don't see them, you feel them. What's your next one, Jackson? I think we're almost
I
wrapping up
got
here.
two actually.
Okay,
One's gonna. Do you
come
want
on.
the honorable mention first, or do you want the number one?
Give them both.
No, the next one, since I did a deli, the next one I'm just going to continue on that one streak. The Yellow Deli in Chattanooga, Tennessee. The Yellow Deli in Chattanooga, Tennessee. There's a couple yellow delis across the world. Why? Because it is run by cults. It's run by a cult, the 12 tribes of something. But goodness, they put their volunteers to work. And they have the weirdest hours I've ever seen for a restaurant. They work round clock some nights, and they have some questionable child labor laws. I would say I peeked in the back and I saw some kids working their hearts out making bread. But
I
hey,
just saw Iowa
those
change
little
the
fingers
laws.
make those little fingers. I guess it's like pepper. What's it? The
Oh, the
Toll
Pepperidge
House or
Farm.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the elves. Are they
whatever.
allowed? Are you still allowed to help
Not
elves?
Toll House.
Did they have
Toll
to
House.
change it to like tall, regular sized people?
I don't know, but my goodness, Yellow Deli, it's the best deli off the beaten path ever. Not many people are going to Chattanooga, Tennessee, but if you are, try the Yellow Deli. If you're a parent, make sure your kid doesn't go off the beaten path, or they might get converted. But it's phenomenal. The actual atmosphere there has been fantastic. Everyone there is really nice. Like that's what it is too. Like I don't know what there is in their Kool-Aid, but it is making everyone so nice around there. And their chili, oh my gosh, their chili so good. They got root beer on tap. They
Ooh.
it's they have really cute, cool murals. You have to decipher them. It's very cultish murals, but it's what a sight. But everything there is made from scratch. Everything there at the Yellow Deli is made from scratch, and
Are we talking like a white cult or Indian tribes cult? Because
uh,
you said
just
tribes.
give it a Google right now, Fraser. Honestly, it's called the Yellow Deli in Chattanooga, and it's
Uh,
run by the 12 tribes, and it is a cult. Um, very odd.
yeah. Iowa just changed their child labor laws, so like you're allowed to have young kids just do whatever they want.
Well, everyone that works there is a volunteer because there's no pay there. In this religion that they have, they everyone gives it's like a commune type of thing. It's a very
Yeah.
communist.
How interesting. Huh. Well, what's your number one?
Casa Mono in New York. It's a very tiny place. It's hard to get into, but it is phenomenal, and it's a Michelin star restaurant. If I had to have one Michelin star restaurant on this menu and there on this list, and that is it. It's Casa Mono. Um, it's tiny space, tiny kitchen, but very intimate and the best. Just everything on the menu is outstanding. I'm not a foie gras person. It's not my thing, but
What's foie gras? I
it's
always see
not
it different.
liver and some liver. It's liver type dish, and
Gotcha.
it's not my thing. And they made it delicious. They made it. I could have had eights. I could have eaten it every for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. A place that can make me. I love places that can make food that can make me question my own taste buds because
Mm.
there's some things I'm very picky about,
Gotta write that down in
especially
Jackson
texture,
great quotes.
especially with texture. And this place just makes me think outside my comfort zone and makes me think, you know what, I might as well try this um, celery root schnitzel, or I gotta try. That's an example. I don't know if they've ever had that many, but just something crazy on their menu that it makes me know that there's a reason it's on the menu there. There's a reason they
Yeah.
put it on the menu. They're not going to put something that is just technical on their menu just to make it people impressed by. There is a reason, and when something's on that menu, everyone and their mother, their grandmother, their child will like it. It's That's just how it is.
I googled Yellow Deli, and you were right. A quick synopsis: in each town where there is a Yellow Deli, there's a cluster of homes following the pattern of those first believers who share a common life together there. Though it may be hard to believe about working together, living together, sharing a pure and holy life, coming from different backgrounds, thankful refuge we have found among those who believe and respect the word of God. And this is where it gets weird because I feel like this is marketing 101. Don't talk about yourself and like squash a rumor by bringing it up because I didn't know this was a rumor, but now it makes me
Mhm.
think that they are a cult because they said, sadly, fear of evil or perverse behavior going on among us has caused some to circulate unfounded rumors about us, thinking we have bad motives.
It's true. It's
Huh.
unbelievable.
I
It,
wouldn't put that
it
in
hit their
my.
children. They hit their children quite hard.
This is the about. Like, why would you put this in your about? Just don't tell it. I would never
Yeah,
put
I
this.
mean, but it's just so blatant, and they had to.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: even with that coverage, you'd think that terrible, terrible publicity,
Hmm.
terrible publicity.
That
They
they put out
have a
little notes.
line out the door for their food.
Hmm.
Their food is so good it makes them overlook the crimes that are taking a place in there.
I
Honestly, I
feel
don't
like
think the police want to shut them down because the food's so good.
I feel like that's maybe a microcosm. This place, Yellow Deli, is a microcosm of the United States of America. Like
It has a
everything,
fascinating story. There's plenty of documentaries on the Yellow
but
Deli
I just mean
and
like
the
there's so much
founders of it.
there's so many murders and just terrible things going on in the United States, but it's so much fun that people just kind of overlook it and there's a line out the door. They're still trying to get in this motherfucker. So
I
I
swear.
get it. Yeah. It's
The food is that good that
mm,
when you walk in, you see these volunteers who are like 10 years old just
mm,
kneading away at bread, and you just know they they're like should be in school. Like you look at
mm.
your watch, you look at your watch, and you're like, why aren't you not being observed by a licensed teacher, or something,
Yeah.
or homeschooled, maybe you should be out there learning, but
Yeah.
you know,
Instead they're making dough for Jackson and the policeman of
making dough.
Yellow, Osceola, wherever it is.
But the bread's fantastic. I don't know
Mm.
if it's the kids' tears in the bread or what, but it's absolutely delicious.
Well, on that note, I wanted to go through a few of my last ones, but I feel like it's just too good to not end on. I was gonna say Christmas dinner at my Ukrainian grandma's house, where it's like just miles and miles of food out the door. My
How much is
friend,
the charge?
it's free.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
it's
Very
not. It's not like the
good
Yellow
speed.
Deli thing. That should have been a thing. She should have just made food for people who's coming to her house. That would be. Why doesn't anyone do that? I guess you have to get a license. But
Yeah.
some grandma, some family should. I
They
guess that's kind
have
of like
places like that in New York.
yeah.
They exist.
I feel
Anthony
like Costa
Bourdain
Rica, right?
highlighted some, I believe.
Yeah, I just want someone, like my grandma's house is open on Friday nights from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. She knocks out pierogies and chicken and cream sauce and potatoes and cream sauce, and that's what you eat, and it's $27 a plate. Yeah, my friend Kevin Backer's dad's farm steaks, incredible. And shout out to Nang, where I had a great street party with my beach soccer team friends. It was a street banquet, and one of my favorite experiences on earth. So that
Oh,
was my
cool.
other one, but we're at 50 minutes, and I feel like Children Tear Bread was really the crescendo. And what's not the crescendos where it's even, right? What's it called? The peak?
Peak.
Is that even in music? It's called a peak.
I don't know. I'm peaking right now.
Yeah, that's good. I love when you peak.
I'm peaking hard right now.
What are you peaking at? What do you got? A peak is an instantaneous measurement of level in audio. Yeah, that was the peak. Well, Jackson, have yourself a great weekend.
You as well, Fraser.
We've passed 1,000 listeners. No, 100 listeners. 1,000 sounds better. 1,000. Shout out to our sponsor, Toddy's Small Batch Podcast. InspiredTravelEat.com. Biscuits and gravy. This is the
Shout
best
out,
podcast
Bobby.
ever. Shout out, Toddy. All right, bye, Jackson.
Bye.